You know, a few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies, are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked about, not about the things that separate us because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic.
I've seen some people questioning why are people so happy and excited about RFK Jr. and Donald Trump joining forces. I've seen some people saying, isn't this Donald Trump just working with someone who doesn't like him? Isn't this Donald Trump working with his enemies? And listen, I understand why some people would feel that way, but I also believe that some people have been so entrenched in this culture war over the last couple of years that they have lost sight that it's okay sometimes to interact with people you disagree with. It's okay to coexist with people who don't think the same as you. And sometimes it's okay to work alongside people who don't necessarily all the way 100% align with your beliefs. It's okay. In fact, that's what made America great. That's what made America unique. That we have the freedom to disagree and to voice our disagreements and to view things in different ways. I think some of us remember a time, and it wasn't that long ago, where our country wasn't so divided. Yeah, we had our own political beliefs, but we still connected on other levels. Maybe you like that politician. Maybe I like this politician. Well, guess what? We disagree, but we both like football. Let's talk about football. Or let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. America, or in America, it seems like we used to kind of focus on things that brought us together as opposed to things that ripped us apart. Now, the focus is all on how do we differ? You know, what do you think about this and what do I think about that? Let's go ahead and let's find whatever reason we can to not like each other, to not interact with each other, right? I feel like that's how America has become. Instead of looking at someone and trying to find what you have in common, you try to highlight what you don't have in common. And you're at odds with each other. But if we truly want to make America great again, no pun intended, if we truly want to live in a country like the country we used to live in, then we need to welcome disagreements, folks. We need to work with people who we don't necessarily agree with. Do you think the founding fathers all agreed with each other on everything? No, they did not. If you know anything about the founding fathers, you know they did not see eye to eye on a lot of things, but there were a few core values that they all agreed with. And that's why they came together on those core values, not their differences. They came together on the few things that they saw eye to eye on. and they formed our country. And I think now is the time when we're up against the evil that we're up against. I don't think we should be sitting here nitpicking at each other because of our minor differences. We need to find what we have in common, and we need to work together for the greater good right now. That's my opinion on the situation. But let's go ahead and listen to a little bit more of what RFK Jr. had to say, and then I'll be right back.
Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. He said he didn't want any more $200 billion wars in Ukraine, that we could use that money back here in the United States. And the best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because of the fact that I had to sit through days and days of listening to BS speeches at the DNC. I listened to hours and hours worth of word salads. I listened to a bunch of idiots deliver speeches to a bunch of idiots while saying absolutely nothing, while trying as hard as they could to sound like they were saying something of substance. So I was exposed to that nonsense for days on end. So maybe it's just me, but I find it absolutely refreshing to hear RFK Jr. actually talk about things that he would want to do in this country. To actually talk about how we can better this country, how we can better people's health, better the quality of living. I find it just so refreshing that to actually hear someone on the stage talk about things that we can do for our country, as opposed to just sitting on stage obsessing over Donald Trump and talking about the fake Project 2025 and delivering promises that you know you can't keep. Oh man, the DNC, I don't know if I can sit through another one of those. I don't know if, when this comes around again, I don't know if I can do it. But I did it. I exposed myself to that for days on end. So yeah, like I said, it feels and sounds refreshing. Even if RFK Jr. isn't going to be able to do all of these things, at the very least, he's talking about it. As opposed to just blowing a lot of hot air like what was happening at the DNC. But I want to know from you all, how do you all feel about what RFK Jr. is saying? How do you feel about him and Trump coming together? Listen, I understand why some people are hesitant. And I'm not telling you that you should be gung-ho about anything. All I'm saying is that right now, and the times that we're in, I think it's important for things like this to happen. I think it's important that we as Americans, we start coming back together. And there, like I pointed this out plenty of times, there's a certain portion of our society that have completely lost their minds. They're never going to recover them. We can't help those people. We're never going to agree with those people. And those are the type of people that we're up against. But there's still common, decent people on both sides that need to come together, realize that the Republican, Democrat, it's just a name. It's just a name. We got to come together as common Americans. We got to find the core values that we agree on, and we got to move forward from there. But for now, I want you all to move forward down into my comment section below. Let me know how you feel about this. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next one.